Hello everyone, welcome to Word Funk. I am Leon Thomas. I am joined by Johnny Maloney and Austin Yorsky. We are going to talk about all kinds of things this week.
I love living in modern times, I really do, because I recognize that like 300 years ago I probably would have been killed by a tiger.
Wait, were there tigers in Canada?
It's not that there were tigers in Canada 300 years ago. It's just like, I would be that statistic. So I would be that guy. It would be like, oh, circus in town. Come see the crazy tiger from the lands of Borneo. And then it would be like, tiger breaks free. One man eaten.
You would be that man.
I would be that man.
Okay.
But I'm just like, I'm freaking out about all this other stuff. I'm like, am I getting enough iron in my diet? Am I protein deficient? Perhaps I need to up my salt intake. Maybe I'm eating too much salt. So my new thing is going to be, I'm gonna get myself a sports drink, and at the end of the day, because I have a very, very physically active day, I'm going to have a little bit of sports drink.
Wait, you guys have socialism. Can't you just go to the doctor and get robo-legs?
I could. I could, Austin, but in a socially responsible society, it is incumbent upon the participants to not place stress on the communal system unless absolutely necessary.
I don't think socialism instantly creates cyborg legs. I think it just creates the ability to one day have them for free.
It makes it inevitable, Leon. That's why we have capitalism, because we don't want people running around kicking each other with robo-legs.
I all the time. That's all I want. You know what I've been thinking about today?
Pudding?
No, dildos.
Well, obviously.
Well,
that goes without saying, Leon.
Not just for like no particular reason.
Very specific reasons, dolphin-shaped reasons.
I was reminded recently that apparently in some parts of my country, it's actually illegal to own a dildo, like in Mississippi, for example.
It's illegal to have premarital sex in Florida. Lock me up, bitches.
See, whenever you criminalize a vice, it always creates an underground of it. That's why, we say, well, drugs are illegal in this country. Well, yeah, but, you can still get them. You just have to go through really shady ways to get them. And
are you insinuating there's some kind of weird black market for dildos in Mississippi?
I am. I'm not only saying that there's a black market for dildos in Mississippi, I'm also saying that the drug trade in our country also creates a sort of dangerous element to it. So I'm thinking that in Mississippi, that's where you go to get the good dildos, because they're the black market dildos. They're the ones that are just like really horrible and frightening dildos. I'm just saying that it's by criminalizing these things in Mississippi, they may have actually created a monster, a dildo-sized monster.
A black market dildo monster.
Okay, Blip TV, Maker Studios, I know that you listen to and watch absolutely everything that goes on your network here, so I'm going to pitch something to you. Tell me what you think, all right? Breaking Bad about dildos in Mississippi. I'll write the pilot, I don't have to star, but an executive producer credit would work for me. Austin and Leon come with me, of course. We're a package deal.
Well,
nobody, and I mean nobody, can write an episode about dildos like these guys.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying, is Leon's going to be Walt, right?
I think, yeah.
Okay, then do I get to be Jesse?
Yeah, I think so. I think you got the street cred to be Jesse. Right. I'll be Saul, I guess.
My concern here is that all I want to do right now is make this episode have a title with the word dildo in it, but I'm almost positive I can't do that, so I have to figure out something else now.
Why not? We called the episode of the BT podcast Dolphin Dildos.
That was then. That was
This is now.
This is so now.
This is the post-BT era.
It really is. And plus some of the things that we put on...
It's a cowardly new world, Leon.
It is. We put up... With some of the things we put on the cover of... the BT podcast got like censored on I don't mean that like in a bad way, like censorship, but it got black boxed a little on Tigwatig, but not on BT.
Yeah, so, once the higher ups were actually seeing what we were doing, a little bit of regulatory control came in.
Right. We flew too close to the sun.
On wings of dildos. Yeah.
Wings of fallacies?
Marital aids? We call it that, right? I think
What is this, the 40s?
There must be like a
personal massagers.
There must be like a clean euphemism for dildo. And we've gone silent because we're all thinking really, really hard about what that might be.
I think we hit it. I think personal massager and marital aids are the cleanest.
Okay.
Probably.
Euphemisms.
Okay,
Probably.
I'm gonna go with Johnny. You have a big story you brought to us. Why don't you tell the public about it?
I guess it's a pretty big story, but before we start, I'd like to ask one of you to do me a favor and please count to 10.
If you don't make a 7, 8, 9 joke, I'm gonna be really pissed at you, Johnny.
No. We're not doing a 7, 8, 9 joke. The internet is rife with 7, 8, 9 jokes right now. I decided to go the slightly more cult, like, niche route. I'd be like, Microsoft doesn't have my attention until they turn it up to 11.
I can respect that.
Because, 11 is one louder than 10.
Oh, we get it.
Yeah. Well, the point that Austin is trying to drive at here is that according to Microsoft, who announced today their brand new Windows system, the count up to 10 goes 7, 8, 10. That's right. Windows 9, non-entity, does not exist. At first, I was thinking that maybe that, Windows 9 was going to be the, rush it out the door, finalized, updated version of Windows 8. But no. They're like, Microsoft, they're still like, of course we're going to be supporting Windows 8 because people who are using our touch technology are getting extremely good usage out of it, so we're going to keep supporting it. But Windows 10 is so different than Windows 8, we just didn't see a point in calling it Windows 9. And I'm like, you completely fail to understand why we bother, making versions of things, right? It's not like it's so much different, it's 2 versions different. It's like, no, dude, it's just the next one.
I'm surprised they didn't call it just the Microsoft One, right? Because they have the Xbox One. Just unify that branding. Everything's the one.
No, here you go. Microsoft Windows Northern Exposure. They could just embrace the whole, Microsoft French Windows. And then I guess people might get a little confused about whether or not it was actually, French Windows or if it was, French Windows.
I think the real question is who is worse at naming stuff, Microsoft or Nintendo? The new 3DS, the Wii U, Windows 10.
That's a pretty tough one.
Xbox One.
I mean, the Wii was it got over it. I remember when it first came out, everybody was like, the Wii?
We giggled until it outsold every other console in history, and it wasn't funny anymore. Then it
wasn't
wasn't funny anymore.
Yeah, okay, from the Wii, whatever you want, Nintendo. You can call it Deborah. But yeah, I don't know.
You know what I think the strategy here is? Everyone knows every other Microsoft OS is shit, right? 7 was good, Vista was bad, right? There's that pattern. So they're just skipping the potential good Windows 9. They're like, we're committing to our direction. It's just shit all the way down.
Crap.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that they've made a lot of decisions that actually look as though they get it. That they're like, oh, I mean, you can still tell they're trying to force in this, we spent a whole lot of money on this, Windows thing. But you don't need to use it if you don't want. The start menu's back, and not not in the backward. You don't have to go in the back.
A spiteful update, don't you think so? They're like, fine, you like the start menu? Have it. I don't care.
Does Windows 10 come with an apology for Windows 8?
I wish it did, but it looks like an extended version of Windows 8. Oh. It looks like it's got some Windows 8 functionality, they have those the windows, right? That they just were throw them everywhere. In Windows 8, it looked like. So yeah, the start menu will have these little boxes of shit.
I can't even deal with Windows 8. My computer that I'm using right now, it's on Windows 7, and I'm just going to leave it that way for the foreseeable future. My wife's laptop, she has Windows 8 because that came pre-installed in it, but she found some sort of workaround that it functions more like an older Windows.
Yeah, the new updates installed that. But at launch, it did not have those things.
Yeah.
That was the first thing that people did when it came out. They're like, okay, how can we undo this update?
Well, I don't understand. I can understand wanting to modify an operating system so that it works properly on touch devices. Because, yeah, I mean, Microsoft's chasing Apple, so it's like, yeah, okay, the Surface, okay, the phones and things like that. Yeah, you need a new operating system for that. You can't just be like, oh, here's your smartphone. Okay, start menu, programs.
Yeah, I mean, clearly.
Windows Update needs to download. But you can't assume that somebody who uses their tablet and someone who has, like, a super pimped out Daddy Mac awesome tower like I do use our computers for, exactly the same things, or even similar things.
I just want to say I love that you said Daddy Mac just now.
It totally is. It's the Mac Daddy Mac. When you see it, you'll want to jump. Jump. Good
God. Any other thoughts about this nonsense?
Poor Leon's like, can we please get off of operating systems? This is literally boring me to death.
The only concern that I have is whether or not they're going to make the new version of DirectX a Windows 10 only affair.
Yeah, that might actually affect me because I'm playing PC games now, and that's, relevant.
Well, yeah. The thing is that the new version of DirectX is they're finally coming to grips with the fact that if you don't have multi-threaded processors, if you don't have a quad-core CPU or something like that, you must still have a 386 or something like that. Almost every PC that you're buying these days has multi-threading in it. So it's they've been hugging this old API, this old method of routing information, and it's just not seizing the power as well as it should. So the new version of DirectX is actually looking really promising for actually being able to use systems the way that they can be used. And if I have to buy Windows 10 for that, well, fuck, my arm is going to be twisted, and I'm going to have to do it.
Right.
In case you're wondering, Johnny's computer eats calculators for breakfast.
My computer, the one I use, is actually, my old computer, I didn't even bring it into our new home. My wife had it's 5 years old now, but at the time it's a top-of-the-line gaming-specific desktop computer that I use in my office, and she has a couple of different laptops. Funny story about this computer. I don't know if I'm going to leave this in the episode. It was actually designed and custom made by her former boyfriend, and her former boyfriend, completely out of the blue, many years after they stopped dating, contacted me on Facebook, and I replied to him that it's sort of inappropriate for us to be talking, and he said something jerky in response, and I basically left it alone, but what I really wanted to say is love your computer. I decided not to. I'll leave this in the episode.
Oh, Leon.
I know. I just kind of wanted to say, I won, and I take your computer as prize.
Yeah, that was the thing you got for him, and that was of value.
Yeah.
The only thing.
I've never actually met him. It was ancient history. Anyway, anything we want to say more about PCs before we move on to our next thing?
I think I'm good.
Okay. In that case, Austin, you've been doing something recently that we'd like to hear about.
Something incredibly ill-advised.
I want to hear about this so bad.
So, I started watching TV relatively recently because for a long time there wasn't anything I was interested in, and then, Netflix came out, HBO's been killing it recently. So I have a Netflix queue full of, awesome stuff. Most of it's been sitting there for months and months, years maybe, in this case. But then last week, I found out that they're taking Battlestar Galactica off of Netflix. When I found out, it was 5 days before. They're taking it off in 2 hours. So I found out, someone run the math. There are 75 episodes of this show, and they're about 45 minutes apiece. That's a terrifying amount of TV to binge watch over the course of 5 days. But I did it. I've seen it all, and that was way too much TV to watch all at once, guys.
Okay. If you can pick one,
Are we
sorry,
going
go
to
ahead.
full spoilers here? I just want to, like if we're going to talk the series. Leon, you've seen all of Battlestar Galactica?
I've seen every single episode. I loved it.
Okay. I, too, have seen every episode of Battlestar Galactica, so I think it's strictly possible that we can go full disclosure here. Spoiler City. Let's take a route down, ruin it for everybody street.
Yeah, if you're actually listening to this and you've been meaning to watch the reimagined Battlestar Galactica, just skip ahead because
Also, it's too late. It's not going to be streaming anywhere in literally an hour.
I mean,
Or I guess you could pirate it, but don't do that.
You could definitely do that, but don't do that. Wink, wink. I never do that. Let me make sure my torrents are off. It's an old joke for the Student Thomas podcast. Anyway, go right ahead with what your thoughts were on it, Austin.
Okay, I mean, I don't even know where to start. I could do an entire show on this series. It's crazy. I am convinced that the first season of Battlestar Galactica is the best season of any show I've ever watched.
Wow.
It is nearly perfect. I don't think any art is perfect, but like functionally, I don't think I would change anything. Like the pacing's perfect, the characters are complex, the performances are great, the special effects are great, the music's great.
Jamie Lambert hasn't gotten fat yet.
Oh my god, I do want to talk about that. The first season's great. The second season is good. The third and fourth are not. I don't know if I'd say they're bad, but they're weak, and they kind of make the show like if I would just watch the first two seasons, like, oh yeah, Battlestar's one of my favorite shows ever. But the third and fourth season make me kind of sad.
The quality dips towards the very end. I loved it almost all the way through, but I will say that the finale was confusing and a little muddled and not entirely satisfying, I guess.
Are you guys trying to tell me that you didn't love their judicious use of All Along the Watchtower?
Well, that I was actually going to tweet about that, but I wanted to save it for the show. That may be the worst plot twist in history. It's the season 3 finale when it reveals the last Cylons, and Jimi Hendrix. What is even happening? I was slack jawed. I was like, this is a joke, right? Am I watching deleted scenes? What is happening? Holy shit, that was sad.
Yeah. I loved almost the entire show most of the way through. There were moments where I was a little confused and wasn't having a good time. The last episode, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, if we could talk about, okay, that's the harsh way to put it, but accurate. What I'm trying to say is that it's really hard to make a good series finale in general. Not just for this show, not just for science fiction in general. But I will say that of the series finales that I can think of off the top of my head, it's one of the worst.
It's right up there with Dexter for me.
I actually didn't even bother to watch the final season, but I heard about what happened, and I'm like, I'm not watching it.
Yeah. Just rough trade, man.
Yeah.
Rough trade.
I was so baffled by the direction Battlestar was going, midway through the third season. I actually looked it up because I was like, what is going on here? And my research indicates that at some point the writers stopped planning ahead and just started making it up as they go along.
Oh.
And that is so obvious. Characters act wildly out of, character. They contradict previously established things. There's a bunch of, plot points that are brought up and never brought up again. There's no plan, and you can totally tell that the last episode, I don't hate the last episode as I think as much as you two guys do, because I was totally expecting that. That is exactly what a bored hack who doesn't care anymore would have done with the last episode.
My dislike took some time to germinate for that episode. I watched it, and initially I was like, I don't think that was very good. And then it just a couple of weeks passed, and I was still something's bugging me about the way Battlestar Galactica ended. I can't. And then 6 months later, I woke up in the middle of the night, and I was like, oh my god, it sucked! That's it!
Does anyone want to try to explain for listeners who haven't seen it how it ends?
I can't even put it all into words. They go to Earth, but it turns out they go to Earth, what they think is Earth, and everything's blown up around like right before the last season, and then they find another place that is actually our Earth, and they say, but this isn't Earth, and he said, and they're like, we'll call it that now. And
it is
and
now.
and they meet some people there, the natives there, and Balthar, Gaius Balthar says, I can't even say his name, but he says, I think we can mate with them. And I'm like, really? Really? Our DNA is compatible with them? Really? That's what you're going to try to tell me? And that we came from some sort of mix of these polytheistic weirdos from another galaxy? And no,
I knew that was where it was going, though. There's only two endings to the Find Earth story. Either it's way in the future or way in the past.
Yeah.
That's the only way you end it. They don't show up in current day at a Chicago Bulls game. Like, there's no other way to end it.
Jordan's going for the dunk!
Exactly.
No offense to our polytheistic fan base. Anyway, go.
Yeah, actually, I mean, you guys know I minored in religion. Like, I have a degree in that. So that part of the show was super fucking interesting to me. That's, like, my favorite part. Except for the part where Gaius joins a weird, like, sex cult. That was totally that was weird. But the rest of the show's treatment...
That was him being Jesus. He was totally Jesusing it up.
We can speak to the lack of subtlety in the symbolism. That's a problem, because, yeah, he's definitely Jesus.
It's also a show sort of its time, because there are references to basically wars that were going on at that time.
There's the waterboarding episode.
There's the suicide bomber stuff.
And the vaccines.
Oh.
There's like, yeah, they definitely have some, like, issue of the day episodes.
I will say this, not too long ago, when I was living in Austin, a friend of mine, we all watched sci-fi movies, me and a bunch of friends of ours, and we sat down, and the inevitable debate comes up, and someone says, Kirk or Picard? And I said, Cisco. And he says, you can't say Cisco. And I said, okay, Adama. And that's the real answer to that question. I mentioned on my Tumblr, because I do that, a few weeks back, that when the first season of The Next Generation, when one of Picard's senior officers is kidnapped by really racist caricatures. His plan is to let the Prime Directive sort of play itself out and just hope everything is okay. When Adama has two of his guys kidnapped by his superior officer on another ship, he just grabs the phone and says, I'm getting back my men, and slams it down. And that is what's great about Adama. He is a thoughtful person, and he's a kind person most of the time, but he also he's a military man, and that's kind of what you kind of expect from someone who's a captain of a ship, or commander, or whatever.
One of the things I actually really liked about the show, Leon, you just spoke to it, was like the complexity of the characters, because yeah, like he has the military duty, but he's also a father, and he's like he has all these different allegiances and stuff. I think everyone in the show has like shades of that. One of the things I found really interesting, like Johnny, you spoke about Fat Lee earlier.
Oh yeah.
Wait, what?
Lee Adama would be the main character.
Okay.
He would be the main character in any other show. He's like a conventionally attractive, like hotshot pilot. He's super like, masculine and cool. And he gets fat and he like disappoints his wife, and he's just kind of like I don't know. I think it's really cool how they subverted your expectations of him. He didn't turn out to be like, I actually like was thinking of him as Tom Cruise at some point. So I was like, oh, there's Tom Cruise light, diet Tom Cruise there walking around. But he doesn't turn out to be that character. I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, frankly, the most interesting characters are and get a lot of screen time are like the least traditionally handsome ones. No, I'm not saying that Edward James Olmos is an attractive person, but he's seen better days, and he's an elderly fellow, and people make fun of his crater face, but I'm trying not to make fun of him. I'm saying he's awesome, but he's not a hunk. And the other my other favorite character on the show is Galen Pierrot, who is a chubby guy with a chubby face who's just kind of awesome.
Yeah, he's super cool. I was actually, when I was doing my research into how the show ended up the way it was, apparently he wasn't supposed to have a big part, but he was like ad-libbing cool lines and just being charismatic, so they bumped him up. I think it's super cool. I like him. Also like Gaius for most of the show. He's like a slimy, selfish dick, but he says like a lot of things that make like sense. Like
yeah.
he is kind of the opposite of Adama in some ways, where Adama, like, does the right things and sometimes comes off like a bully, and, like, Gaius is, like, always doing the wrong things, but it's kind of, like, understandable.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
And the weird thing is, although he did a lot of bad stuff, when he's on trial and he's kind of getting screwed and some people are lying about him to make him look even worse, you sympathize with him because some of it's just bullshit and he shouldn't have to deal with that. We can't spend the whole show talking about this, but I'll say one more thing and then I'll shut up and you guys can talk about it if you want. When, I feel bad because I always say her name wrong. It's either Kaylee or Callie. When
Callie.
Callie, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
When Callie dies, I lost my shit. I could not believe it. I was like, no, of all the characters, I can't believe you did that. And the way she died was just horrific.
It's vindictive too, because they had like 2 episodes previous to that where they like fixed their relationship and got over all their problems and stuff.
I will put that over any Game of Thrones death.
Chronologically, that was a really vindictive way to kill her off. Actually, she wasn't even supposed to survive like her first appearance.
Jeez,
like,
cool.
Yeah, that's cool. There's a lot of stuff like that.
And then everybody becomes angels at the end of the series.
Fuck me.
When Galen Pierrot finds out, I think it's like either the second to last or the last episode, what happened to his wife, and this is a while after this happened. His rage was very similar to my own, just murder. He straight up murders someone right in front of everyone else and fucks everyone over. And at the very end of the series, I was like, I'm with you. He says, I'm just tired of people. And he just walks off and does his own thing.
Yeah, I know. That was a great arc. I love Chief. He's good people. Okay, I won't take up any more of your time. You guys don't have anything else to say about it. I just wanted to get that out of my system because that's been my life for like the last week.
All right, Johnny, any other thoughts on that, or are we moving on?
I think my disgust at how it ended is sufficiently expressed.
Okay. All right, well, then
that last fucking scene on modern day streets, just, oh god!
I'm not, that's not even like my top 10 worst things either, Johnny. It's funny that that's the thing you come back to. I'm thinking like, that boxing episode, what the hell was that?
No, I'm not saying it's like obviously the most far-fetched worst thing in the series. It just like, it's just straight up piss on my face. Don't tell me it's raining. Just be like, wee! And I'll be like, okay, alright.
Do you remember the part where Gaius whispers something to Gaeta, and Gaeta stabs him in the neck for it, and then they never bring that conversation up again?
Yeah, I do remember that as well, yeah.
What the fuck? There's so many problems, guys. So many problems with, like, one of the best shows. Gosh. I love it to death, but it's a rough last leg there. Sorry.
Okay.
Next story?
Yeah, this is obviously the most important thing that's going on in the universe right now.
Not just in the time that we currently live in, but also retroactively and in the future.
Yep. Yes, because the most important film that we've been waiting for a very, very long time, far more important than Episode 7 or I don't know, whatever people want to see, Goonies 2. The most important film of all time is coming. Bill and Ted 3 is, as Time magazine says it, probably happening. And that's most excellent. Basically what's going on is that Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves are going to make a third Bill and Ted movie. Now, for those who are too young to understand or know what that means, let me explain. Bill and Ted basically are 2 teenagers with the powers of love, friendship, and let's say casual homophobia that got into the not TARDIS and flew through time to not to like save the universe or anything like that at first, but basically to learn about history so they can pass their exam. You'd figure
like the magic school bus with stoners.
Yeah, you'd figure they would just hire a tutor and that would be the movie. But no, they had to fly through time with George Carlin. Basically, that was the first movie. The second movie, it's explained in greater detail that these two are basically code Jesus, and that they will save the future, and that their philosophy of partying on and being excellent to one another will bring about like some sort of utopia in the future. So the
rule of the wild stallions.
Yes, they have to be protected. And in the second film, they die, but come back to life, and William Sadler's death. Basically, it's very convoluted and ridiculous. But it's fun. You
forgot about the robot doppelgangers.
There are robot doppelgangers, the evil usses, as they called them. And there was also a cartoon that ran for a while, and I had to listen to the theme song earlier just to have that bit of nostalgia. But yes, they're doing it, a third movie, in an era where almost everything is sequels and remakes and stuff that's brought back from 20 years too late. This is another thing that's like that. So, guys, your thoughts on both the movies in the past and on the hope for Bill and Ted 3?
I'm going to go with excellent.
Okay.
Do you think we're going to see Bill and Ted 3 before Ghostbusters 3?
I think we are. I honestly think that we are, because this is something that they both want to do. It's not something where everyone's like, there's like these weird... I mean, with Ghostbusters 3, the holdout was always Bill Murray. If Bill Murray ever just said, okay, then this would have happened the next day. That would have been Ghostbusters 3. But Bill Murray was all like, no, I do other things now. I'm not giving him a hard time, because the other things that he did were quite good. I'm just saying that had he said yes, then we would have had Ghostbusters 3 in the 90s, or like at least 10 years ago or so. But Alex Winter wants to do it because Alex Winter basically just, oh my god, I forgot to tell you about Grand Piano from a month ago. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Alex Winter is still in movies, but just barely.
Leon, Stream of Consciousness movie podcast.
Sorry,
brought
I'm so sorry.
by the fine folks at Pepsi.
I'll tell you about Alex Winter in Grand Piano in a minute. But Alex Winter is, I mean, he still has a job. He still does acting. He still does behind the scenes work. Keanu Reeves doesn't need this, but he wants this. And so it seems like the two principal characters are on board. Obviously George Carlin passed away a few years back, but the movie will still go ahead. Ghostbusters 3, I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, I can't even speak to it. But Bill and Ted 3 is happening, and I'm excited. Austin, this may have been before your time, but for people who are like in their early 30s right now, Bill and Ted was a thing.
I've seen the first one, but I don't remember it very well. So, sorry. I know.
At the time that I watched Bill and Ted, and it really until only a couple years ago, because I knew very little about the BBC, I didn't realize that the telephone booth in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure was a reference to the TARDIS, a joke, if you will.
I don't think a lot of people did. Doctor Who wasn't really like a known thing in America until recently, right?
Well, no, it was on, like, wasn't it on,
I mean, some people, but not mainstream.
No. It got super big recently. But yeah, that was cool. And I feel like I'm dominating the Bill and Ted.
This is the one you're excited about, Leon. Your enthusiasm is infectious.
Okay. Any other thoughts on this before I just jump into Alex Winter's most recent film? Because
I'm a little concerned because the canon in the Bill and Ted movies is that wild stallions are supposed to like bring about this great utopia, but I mean, obviously that will not have happened.
It's just gonna be an hour and a half of them chilling in a perfect society.
I can't remember when the super happy future happens. Is it established in the films that it happens in the early 21st century, or does it say that long after they're dead, that's when everyone sort of like gets wise to them?
I don't know. Let's check it out.
I hear typing, so that we're clearly checking.
It's important that we understand the canon, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
By the way, I think...
Oh, yeah, it's way in the future.
Okay.
Future. 2688.
All right, so, yeah, we got a few hundred years to let Bill and Ted digest. in our consciousness before we decide that being excellent to each other is the thing we should do.
Of course, yeah.
Prepare yourself for another 600 years of shit until we finally wise up.
That explains so much.
I wonder where Wild Stallions is going to be. Maybe they're going to break up and then get back together after learning about themselves.
Could be. By the way, I would also like to say that the cartoon should not be considered canonical, and that is how I feel about that.
It's heresy.
It is. It's apocryphal. It's stories that are not entirely part of the canon, but are interesting as side stories.
The Gnostics believe in them. But not mainstream Bill and Ted.
What the hell? There was a live-action spin-off, too.
Was there?
Yeah.
Was there a stage show? A musical?
First of all, how do I not know that, and why have I not seen that?
I don't know, but I'm just reading here is that it was set to air during the 1991 to 92 television season, but production was delayed until Bogus Journey made a profit at the box office, and the series ended up airing in the summer of 1992.
Oh. Well, that's not a good place to. I assume it was very, very short-lived because I haven't even heard of it.
Diedrich Bader was in it, but it looks like they only had 7 episodes.
Well, wait a minute. It wasn't Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter, right?
No, it was not.
Oh,
it was okay. Evan Richards and Christopher Kennedy.
I don't know who they are.
Neither do I.
Another bit of heresy. This is terrible.
Yeah, this is obviously apocryphal as well.
I'm sorry to be like a Bill and Ted fundamentalist about this, but this will not stand at all. It's disgusting.
We're going to cause Bill and Ted splinter groups. We're going to start nailing theses to church doors. This is getting out of hand.
Okay. I really, really want to tell you about Alex Winter in the movie, Grand Piano. I promised to only talk about it for 2 minutes because we have other things to talk about. I promised our listeners that we would discuss this.
And they probably forgot about it.
And I completely welched on this, and I'm really sorry. So I will do it now. No offense to the Welsh, by the way. No offense to the Welsh and polytheistic religions. Anyway. So, I watched this movie, and it's called Grand Piano, and it starred Elijah Wood. Elijah Wood is a former piano player who is making his big comeback because he choked and he had to, hide for a while. And then he's at the piano, and then he gets a phone call, and someone says, "We have your wife." And he's playing piano, and he can't go anywhere because he has to keep playing. And the voice says, "You have to keep playing. You have to play perfectly, or I will kill her." And then he's sitting there at the piano. It's basically Die Hard on a piano. And
it sounds like an SNL sketch.
And it's. I don't know how to describe it except to just explain the synopsis, and then people can judge for themselves whether this sounds awesome or awful. But he's playing the piano, and he's trying to figure out all these ways where he can, save his wife and, save himself. And he's playing this super hard piece. And then he tries to, dial the phone with one hand and play the piano with the other, but the bad guy is watching him. And all of a sudden, you see that this guy who's helping the main bad guy, and I was looking at him, and I was like, he looks really familiar. And then the third time I saw him, I'm like, oh my God, it's the other guy from Bill and Ted. It's the other one. It's Alex Winter. And, he actually was fine in this. He's actually a pretty, halfway decent actor. I mean, he should get work. He's the other guy from Bill and Ted. I mean, frankly, he's a better actor than the guy from Bill and Ted. The other guy from Bill and Ted is better. I mean, I'm not, but no, the movie is, it's incredibly stupid. But if you ever wanted to watch Die Hard on a piano, now it exists. And I
didn't know I did, but now I kind of do.
Yeah, I'm not going to give away the ending because there's twists. I will say, I mean, this isn't a twist because it's in the credits, but the voice turns out to be John Cusack. I mean, a character played by John Cusack. It's not actually John Cusack.
John Cusack actually did this to someone. It's a documentary.
John Cusack really loves his piano music.
If that actually happened in the movie, it would be so great. Elijah Wood kicks down the door and guns blazing, and he looks at him and is like, "John Cusack, I knew it."
Oh my gosh. I'm trying to figure out what the hell plan a villain could have that could involve someone playing a piano. Like, I know, don't spoil it. I'm just trying to imagine it.
It's so stupid, but
like he has like a rare like disease that can only be cured by that exact piano song. Like what?
It's way worse.
I'm excited.
It's called Grand Piano. Check it out. I don't know. But there's more news. Who put the link in the chat about the movie?
You're making it seem like someone needs to take the blame. Someone step forward and claim the story. It was me. I'm sorry, Leon.
Tell us about it, because we're already talking about movies, and this movie could be even greater than Grand Piano.
Greater in quotation marks. Yeah. So earlier, someone announced they're making a movie out of Tetris. And we don't know that much about it besides the fact that it's being made by the guy who made the Mortal Kombat live-action movies from the 90s.
Wait, Paul W.S. Anderson?
It's being built by the producer, not the director.
Oh, doesn't count. Okay.
Sorry. But according to them, it's going to be a big, epic sci-fi movie. They haven't really released anything. The only thing they said besides that was they're not going to put feet on the geometric shapes.
Well, good. Because that would make it better. But the thing is, when I heard about this, I was reminded of basically the mock trailer for a Tetris movie that came out a few years ago. The joke was that someone would make a Tetris movie, and that's hysterical. And now someone just decided that, okay, we've done everything else.
Between this and your Grand Piano, it really feels like they're making serious movies out of SNL sketches. Like,
are the Tetris
you guys,
blocks?
You do remember that they tried to make a movie out of Battleship, right?
I mean, it got made.
The board game? Something got made. I would not describe what came out the other end as a movie.
Well, you can pay money for it, so it exists as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, they're also making a Space Invaders and an Assassin's Creed and
Assassin's Creed makes sense, and you could make an alien invasion movie and just call it Space Invaders and have it have almost nothing to do with the plot of but
deepest lore.
I can only assume that the people are going to be like flying around in space in block kind of spaceships, and at the very last scene it's like, we have to defeat the aliens. How do we do it? And we have to lock in with it. But how?
Johnny, does Leon sound like a robot to you right now?
Yes, he does.
Oh, I'm sorry. What's going on?
You turned into a robot, and I thought maybe you were being abducted by aliens while describing your plot for the Space Invaders movie. Like, I didn't want you to give up the plan.
Yeah, they were like, that's too close. Pull him now!
How do I sound now?
You sound fine now.
Okay. All right.
It was just specifically you trying to describe the invasion plan that got messed up for some reason.
Okay. Well, I mean, look. Wait, I just had a thought.
You sounded so weary. You're like, oh, look, guys, come on.
I didn't say so. I just had a thought. I used to know this. There's some sort of weird, who owns the rights to Tetris? Because
Isn't the Russian government?
Yeah, isn't it something weird like that?
It was. I don't know if it still is. Because, yeah, when it was made in Russia, it was when they were communists, so the guy who made it didn't actually get to keep the rights. I don't know if it's since been moved around. I guess I could just look that up. Yeah, I mean, I guess they had to buy, the movie studio had to buy the rights to something. It's not a game in the public domain, as far as I know. Yeah, hold on, I'm looking it up. Hasbro?
Really? Okay.
Yep. Maybe? Oh, wait, no, it looks like it's just called the Tetris Company.
What?
In 2013, the Tetris Company signed a contract with Hasbro. I'm reading up on it. It's complicated. But I guess there just is an independent entity that just deals with Tetris copyrights, and they partnered with Hasbro for, stuff. But I think it's just the Tetris Company.
The Tetris Company. We do Tetris, and that's all we do.
Yep.
I guess if you know your focus in life, that's something that you should be commended for. If you're like,
The clarity of vision.
Exactly. I know what I want to do, finally. After going to school for all those years. What do you want to do? I want to do Tetris. Like, you just want to play Tetris? Because I don't think they have competitive... No. I want to negotiate business deals to own the intellectual property for it.
Dream big. Reach for the stars.
I would love to be, like, in a meeting at the Tetris company where they're, like, brainstorming Tetris things. It's like, hey, maybe the block should be blue this time. You're mad!
Maybe they're really, really serious about it. Maybe they walk in and they're like, right, what are the Tetris metrics? Wait, show us the Tetris metrics for the last week.
I was joking, but there are actually Tetris plushies. That's a real thing that exists.
Oh.
Yeah.
I just want any excuse in the world to say Tetris metrics now. That is my new favorite word combination. Goodbye, cellar door. Tetris metrics.
Is that a Stephen King
No,
thing?
It's a Tolkien, isn't it?
Isn't it cellar door? What was that? I know I've read that somewhere.
I thought it was Edgar Allan Poe.
Was it? Oh, all of us are idiots because only one of us is right. And we gave 3 different answers. So let's just own this wrongness and move on.
No, I have to look it up now because I want to be right.
Oh, damn it.
I win!
Says who? Wait, hold on.
A story told by syndicated columnist Frank Colby in 1949 and Ellen Boyd in 1979 holds that cellar door was Edgar Allan Poe's favorite phrase, and that the refrain "nevermore" in The Raven was chosen as the closest word to cellar door he could think of.
Dang. We got beat, Leon.
Yeah, I feel bad, especially since I'm from the place where Poe died and I've visited his grave. So.
Although I feel we all earned some nerd cred for knowing that there's some kind of significance behind that.
Oh, hey, you know what, though? Check this out. Tolkien is mentioned, too.
Yes, that's what I thought.
A passage from Tolkien's 1955 essay, English and Welsh, has been cited as the origin of the idea.
Nope. 55 is later than 43. Boom, Leon loses. Join me, Leon, in the loser circle.
Okay. I'm just saying. I've heard it associated with him. That's all I was saying.
What did you say?
He said Stephen King, which is the wrongest of the 3. So I feel like...
I'm gonna look this up. I'm pretty sure he mentioned that it was a thing, but it must. I mean, it obviously wasn't from him.
Wait, where? Let's all look up more stuff about this thing that no one cares about.
we're all looking up some like weird word trivia.
Okay. Do we have anything more besides odd phrases? Do we have anything more we want to talk about before we go? Because Johnny, I know you played a game this week that I actually am interested in maybe playing one day.
I did. I got through. I played The Vanishing of Ethan Carter.
Oh, I figured out what I was thinking of Stephen King. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's his book on writing.
Okay.
The cover of the book is a cellar door.
Got it.
Yeah, I think in the book he talks about it as a thing. But yes, that's what I was thinking of.
Okay.
Go on, Johnny, with your goddamn video games.
All right.
We all know we're corrupt.
So corrupt. In fact, I'm pretty sure that just by talking about this, I'm getting paid off by someone. Probably an indeterminate amount of money, but I'll check my bank account afterwards and let you guys know exactly how corrupt I am in dollar values after I'm done.
I think the checks are late this month.
So anyways, The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. It's the first game by a studio called The Astronauts. The Astronauts are Scandinavian developers. I think they're ex-Painkiller people. Although I might, because what is it? There's People Can Fly, and then there's Flying Pig Studios. I'm trying to remember which one they are.
People Can Fly made Bulletstorm, I remember.
Yeah, they made Bulletstorm, and they made, I think, the Painkiller games as well.
Was that Hard Reset?
No, that's Pigs Can Fly.
Oh gosh, everyone's flying.
Yeah. So, okay, no, they are a People Can Fly. So they were Painkiller, Bulletstorm, Gears of War Judgment. They're a small team. There's about, I think, a little more than a half dozen of them or something like that, like 8 or 9 or something like that. And, this game, The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, was a weird fiction, kind of puzzle exploratory game, where you play as supernatural detective Paul Prospero, who gets a letter from this kid named Ethan Carter, who's like, oh, hey, there's this shit going on in this place where I live called Red Valley. I need your help. And it's your last case, because, Paul Prospero was a grizzled old veteran, but something about this letter is like, ooh, I better check this out.
So he's 1 week away from retirement.
He's 1 week away from retirement.
If there's a main character named Prospero, is there a character named Caliban?
No.
What's the point, Johnny? What's the point?
Fun Leon fact here. I once played Caliban in a production of The Tempest.
I can't even think of any joke.
No, that itself is both accurate and also the punchline.
Did you have to wear any makeup or prosthetics?
I wore
or is it just go out there, Leon? You're gross.
I wore a mask. It was awful. And that's all I want to talk about it. Anyway, Johnny, I actually do want to play this game, so tell me about it. I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's okay. So it's not a very long game. I got through probably about 5 or 6 hours. If you're super dedicated to running through it fast, you could probably get through it in 3 or something like that. But so you show up at Red Valley, and obviously something is amiss. And it's you kind of have to investigate things. And as Paul Prospero, supernatural detective, not only are you a detective of the supernatural, but you are also a supernatural detective. So it's Paul can kind of sense the histories of objects and things like that. So one of the first puzzles that you come across is you find a dead body that has had its legs amputated next to a set of train tracks. And it's you can kind of if you touch the body, it will sort of it'll be oh, hey, yeah, there's some things around here that kind of need attending to. And if you can make the scene look like how it was when the guy died, then you can kind of tap into that memory and sort of watch it happen. So you move some stuff around, you find a rock and put a rock back where it used to be, and then you'll move a train car and, some other stuff. And then it's you see these sort of still shots of this character's death. And then you go around to the still shots and try to establish a chronology where you're okay, I think this one happened first, and then this one happened next, and then this one happened after that one because, in the second one, there's a guy, picking up a rock. But in this one, he's holding the rock, so we had to have picked up the rock first. And then, the scene will kind of, play out. And there are all these other, weird puzzles that you can come across that apparently are actually instrumental to finishing the game at the end, but they kind of look optional when you first come across them. And it's it's just this weird exploratory mystery game that never really overplays its hand, but it's not it's not exceptionally gamey. It kind of reminded me in a lot of ways of Dear Esther and other what people like to call walking simulator games. Although I know they'd be walking simulators aren't games. But there's distinct video game elements to The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. We can talk about whether or not Dear Esther is a game later, which it is, because you can only really do it in a video game. It's not like you could read a book.
We had the conversation 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Johnny, a few weeks back when you were talking about this game, you were really excited about the fact that it's going to go in sort of a different direction when it comes to mystery games. Did it meet your expectations there, or?
It did not.
Oh.
It did not. I was a little, I can't say that I was completely disappointed. I still really enjoyed the game. It was really, really great. Particularly for the price point that it is and how much time I got out of it. And it's it is beautiful too. It is a beautiful looking game. I've never seen outdoors areas done as well in this game. And just the way that it presented itself, I found myself interacting with it in a way that I don't usually interact in games, where I would like stop and look around, because I'd be like, I got a weird feeling that there's something around here that I have to pay attention to.
All right.
Because it wouldn't necessarily, like, you couldn't just walk through an area and it wouldn't just be like, oh, hey, look at this. If you got close enough to something, it would be like, do you want to look at this? But it wasn't like, you know, you weren't walking through tripwires. Like, it wasn't like, okay, you passed this point in time, now he needs this clue. Okay, you passed this point, now he needs this clue. Like, there was a lot of it that seemed optional to me. But then at the end, I was like, oh, I see. So to get the ending, I need to have done all of these things. Which I wound up doing anyways, but like I got to the end and there was a scene where it was kind of like, it did something like a checklist, where it was like, oh, did you do this? Yeah, and it like crossed it off. Did you do this? Yeah, it crossed it off. Only in less like, you know, it wasn't like he's just like, let me get out my notebook. Yep.
But it wasn't... It still wasn't organic enough for you, Johnny?
No, I mean the thing about it is that I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with mystery games, because part of the problem that you have with presenting someone with a genuine mystery in a video game is that there needs to be the option for failure, or there needs to be the option for red herrings, or
L.A. Noire.
Well, this is the thing. That doesn't necessarily make for a good game, though. Because it's really easy to make the player feel like they're figuring something out, because it's like, well, you got all the clues, time to go to the next area to search for clues. But, like, there's another key component to having a good mystery, and that is making the player feel smart by having figured something out. Like, it's one of the best things that you can do in puzzle games, it's one of the best things that you can do in mysteries and things like that, is get it so that when the player goes, hey, wait a minute, that they feel like they have done something. That it's not the game saying, hey, did you notice the bloody knife? There's totally a bloody knife over there. You know, but it's like you kind of have to coax them into being like, you know, like, you look at the body and it'd be like, oh, it looks like the body was stabbed, you know? And then instead of a character being like, well, let's look for the murder weapon, and then it's like, okay, yeah, so now I know that we have to find the murder weapon. There's gotta be clever ways to like, entice the player to find things. Blood trails, like things that are obviously out of order that you can notice as a person, that your character doesn't necessarily go, hey, over here, there's blood. Maybe that's where the murder weapon is. You know, because you want to have a legitimate mystery, and you don't want to have a foregone conclusion, because the player has to be able to make decisions about, you know, what they suspect. And there wasn't really any of that in The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. Although the new Sherlock Holmes game, Crimes and Punishment, came out today. I haven't had a chance to look at it, so there's still hope for that. Fingers crossed.
I heard it's good. The reviews that came out so far are pretty positive.
I've read a couple of mixed ones, but a lot of the people who are saying that they don't like it are people who are saying that they haven't liked Frogware's games in the past.
Oh.
And I'm not saying that the past Sherlock Holmes games are worthy of your adulation. They have a lot of problems, even as adventure games, not just as Sherlock Holmes games. But the people who seem to be a little more forgiving and liking of those games, more fond of them, pardon me, are saying that this new one is certainly the best one they've done yet. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I will enjoy looking at that then. But Vanishing of Ethan Carter told a really compelling story. It was beautiful. It had it interacted with the player in a way that I felt like I was left to my own agency more than the game kind of like leading me by the nose and being like, oh, hey, pay attention to this, pay attention to this. So I kind of like that. It made me want to explore. It made me want to look around. Yeah, so I really, really, really enjoyed it.
My only update on Wasteland 2 is that my entire party got murdered by a frog.
One frog?
Yep, it's just really big. Yeah. I actually do kind of like this game. I just have to I have to push further into it to decide if I'm going to go
until the Stockholm syndrome takes hold.
We'll see.
And then 3 weeks from now, Leon's going to be all like, have you played this game, The Witcher 2? There's this game called The Witcher 2. It's really amazing.
All right, we really do have to go. Any last words? That sounds terrible. Anything you'd like to say? Put on your blindfolds. No, anything you want to say right before we go, guys?
If the meal that you're eating is lacking in seasoning, consider biting your lip. Blood has a naturally salty taste.
We can't let Johnny say things at the end of episodes anymore. This is getting out of hand.